Welcome to It's a Numbers Game. I'm Adam Morris, joined as ever by my co-host, Daniel Welling. Today, we are doing something a little different, a globe-spanning roundtable on getting MSP finances under control, with guests dialing in from the US and Australia. So our guest from the US is Angie Hasenbank from Hasenbank Accounting Services. And our Australian guest is Lauren McMaster from Rosie Small Business Services. Both are accounting and book firms who specialise, like we do, with MSP businesses. So stick with us and you'll learn the financial foundations every MSP needs. Standardised chart of accounts, proper labour allocation. This is all about making sure you can see your true gross margin. We're going to look at how to create discipline from quote to invoice using timesheets, product catalogues, purchase orders, and clean workflows so we can make sure revenue and costs actually align. And practical ways to work with your finance partner across time zones. What to share, how to avoid surprises, and how to build trust. So let's get right into it.
Well, welcome to the first of what will be hopefully a new series of something a little bit different from us. I'm joined, obviously, as always, by my partner in crime, Adam. We have another two guests, though, today. We have Angie from the US and Lauren from Australia. Welcome along to the show.
Hello.
Thank you.
So we are recording this episode 9 o'clock in the evening, UK time, which is 3 o'clock in the US in the afternoon and 6 o'clock in the morning in Australia. So Lauren, I think, has won the most awkward time to join the podcast. So thank you for that, Lauren.
No worries.
And we are all talking today thanks to a Techno Global team and an introduction from Peter that connected the three of us working at different points around the globe, helping MSPs get command of their financial position. And so what we wanted to do today was announce, first of all, how we are working together and embracing the well-trodden road of co-opetition within the MSP space, and also to offer our listeners a tip from, I would say, the three corners of the globe, as we don't have a fourth at this point. So to kick us off, maybe we should talk a little bit about how we are actually working together. So and what we all have in common. So maybe Lauren, you'd like to go first and talk a little bit about the ConnectWise community that we're all a part of.
Yeah, sure. So I guess we're a small little piece down in Australia, it feels sometimes, of the ConnectWise community, but we have come together to see how we can offer and expand on each of our local services in a more global manner with each other, particularly around our connection with the Evolve group, and many of our clients are in that space or we've come from that space, depending on who we each are. And that's what we like to bring, so that's a different view of the MSP finance. And I guess when we've chatted a couple of times prior to this, the challenges are very similar regardless of which locality you are actually in. So it's quite interesting to see the challenges that we face and our clients face are very similar.
And of course, linked by the common framework of SLI and the rhythm of the Evolve peer group system.
Yes, it's almost end of quarter again, everybody.
Whenever we release this, it will be close to an end of quarter, almost certainly.
Okay.
And Angie, the same from the US. What's your perspective?
Yeah, I just think that it's very interesting that we're all kind of the same. It doesn't, even though we're all across the world here, it's just so much similar. We're doing the same things. The same challenges all of our MSPs are having are still the same. And I think it's just very interesting to see that piece, and I'm looking forward to having this alliance so that as some of our other MSPs may expand into different countries, they may be needing some other help as well. And I think that's where we can really help each other and help them.
Really great point, and a topic Peter and I discussed on a previous podcast. Not just the MSP, but the MSP's customers are now also international. So, in fact, just today, I was talking with a client who has a customer with an Australian branch office, and they found a local MSP to work with to help support that client. And there's almost a new dynamic required in order to work alongside, partner across time zones, and cooperate efficiently, which is part of what the three of us are doing here, and sort of very much finding our way with how we can support each other, share information, but equally work within the same marketplace and eventually locality, as we all imagine that we'll end up in the future having international MSP clients potentially just headquartered in any one region. And maybe if we focus on what we have in common, or what our MSP clients have in common in terms of challenges and ways in which MSPs can mitigate those challenges, perhaps if we were to go around the room and each pick a challenge and a recommendation for how to tackle that challenge. For example, as we've already intimated, we're all very familiar with SLI, so having a common granular chart of accounts is an important recommendation for any MSP to get command of their numbers. But yeah, perhaps we could focus maybe first of all on what an MSP actually needs to be doing to get their numbers in a sufficient good state, readiness for good quality bookkeeping and management accounts. Angie, maybe you'd like to kick us off there.
Well, I think that it's good for them to all be starting up using a standardized chart of accounts and putting things in the same buckets and checking, especially with their peer group, they are getting the same information. They can tell what best in class is and how to work towards those numbers and what are going into those accounts to provide those numbers. And I think that probably payroll allocation is one of the main things I see that doesn't happen when new MSPs are coming to me. Almost all of them need payroll allocation set up to divide into those different lines of business. And so I recommend definitely doing that and figuring a way to get those accurate numbers that are coming from labor, since labor is such a large cost of business.
Can I just sort of dwell on that momentarily, just in case anybody who's not familiar, who's listening to this podcast? Payroll allocation, Angie, you're talking about making sure that the subdivisions of work that's completed is allocated the appropriate payroll overheads, so that your project team labour is associated with project work and the service desk team, etc. Your sales guy, do you know what? He's in a different bucket somewhere else. So his costs are separate to the engineering costs. That's what you're talking about there, isn't it, Angie?
Yeah. And sometimes you can have like one tech that works in all lines of business. They could be in the break fix and project and managed services. So you have to find a way to break out their labor into all three of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a starting point, isn't it, for starting to truly understand gross margin, not as most accountants see gross margin, right? Because we want to labor load that gross margin, because that's actually the biggest cost we've got, or the biggest cost MSPs have, right? So what are we doing? Why most accountants choose to put it in overheads below the line, I've no idea. But so yeah, it's a key fundamental way of measuring gross margin.
And do we have a tip for how to actually go about that? What tool would you normally do it, make that calculation in, and some guidance around how to allocate?
Well, I might take that one, and my answer is usually a very boring one, which is timesheets. So we often find, and echoing what Angie was saying about the cost allocation, often people come and perhaps that's not enforced as much, so they're actually not able to capture that information. There's not a real focus on everyone doing timesheets, even around the sales team. So there are certain other sort of admin functions that if you are using something like the SLI report, you can break it out further. Your salesperson does perhaps do a little bit of management potentially, as well as their sales function, maybe some marketing as well, and just focusing around using timesheets. I usually give up with the owner doing timesheets, so we usually understand that's not going to happen, but all of the other staff need to, so that we can then get some good data to be able to look at their wages costs and allocate that correctly across those different business units. So that is often one of the main things that's missing as well when we're looking at doing a sort of, we call it an SLI alignment, well, that's what I call it, when looking at a sort of a newish evolved member.
That's, you know what, that's such an interesting thing, timesheets, because it's something I rebelled against for years and years, because I just saw it as a pedantic, thing that just held engineers back. They didn't like doing it, and I had to get the ruler out and slap the wrists every time. And I thought, is this really worth it? Isn't this sort of holding them back as people? And then, after being part of the community and seeing what other people were doing and talking to others and learning from others, I went into it seriously, and oh my God, it was pivotal, right? It's absolutely pivotal. And you then realize it is actually a core discipline of any MSP to record time and allocate that time into the appropriate servant in the right way. Because without that, you're flying blind, aren't you? You're flying blind. You can't measure anything. You don't know what to fix or what to improve. So I think it's brilliant, Lauren, that you're making that a kind of fundamental part of extracting the value, of kind of what your team does. You're sort of saying, actually, do you know what? To get the best from us, you need to log all your time.
Yes, it's not often a popular suggestion, but it is an important one.
And a great point there around also perhaps the leader of an MSP leading by example. So Adam, maybe we'll circle back to.
Oh no, I was
going to say,
we've
Angie.
tried to make it a little bit easier by using. So if they're using ConnectWise, they're already logging time kind of in their tickets, and so we're using work roles to help with that. So inside of there, you would just use a work role, and then we run an hours by work role report and use that to allocate time.
Yes. Yep. Sometimes it's around, and I guess that's where having that background in those products, particularly ConnectWise, in understanding how that can be configured and how it flows into that finance part of the business. It is connected from a bookkeeping and accounting perspective. Those things that seem very much like a service desk component do flow into the finance reports.
Absolutely. So have we got one or two top tips there? Chart of accounts and labor loading allocation maybe is a second point, and our third point won't be the MSP leader providing an example. We'll save that for another episode, right?
Yes.
Welcome to a quick break on It's a Numbers Game, the podcast dedicated to helping MSP owners navigate the complex world of business finance. As an MSP owner, you're a master at managing IT solutions, but when it comes to the numbers and finances, well, that's where MSP Finance team steps in. We're more than just bookkeepers and accountants. We are your strategic finance partners, whether it's detailed bookkeeping, insightful accounting, or high-level financial direction as a service, we've got you covered. Our unique approach focuses exclusively on MSP businesses like yours right here in the UK. We understand your specific challenges and opportunities. And it's not just about balancing the books. Our strategic mentoring offers you the guidance to navigate financial complexities, helping you to grow and scale your business effectively. Imagine having a clearer financial picture, making informed decisions, and ultimately achieving greater success. That's what MSP Finance Team brings to your table. So visit mspfinanceteam.com today and take the first step towards financial mastery. Because when it comes to your MSP finances, it's not just business, it's a numbers game.
So what's another suggestion? What's another top tip?
Well, for me, it seems really around products and utilising products and quoting. So sometimes people are not coming with a firm idea on how they want their billing to work around products and their sort of product stack. So in finance, we can get an instruction to invoice something, and there's no consistency in how you're going to invoice it. So really making it strict that the sales team need to use the existing service catalogue. They're not just creating products on the fly. There's been some thought into those products so that when they do get sold, they flow through the system very nicely, and then they sit in your correct area of your finance reports. You've not got sort of miscellaneous products that you're selling. So I think some discipline around your products and how the sales team sell those is very helpful. It flows through from a service perspective, and then also we're down sitting in finance sort of at the end of the line, it feels sometimes. So if it's gone in a structured way, it makes it all much easier.
The key word there, I think, and could be a wider tip topic, is the discipline word. The rest of the business has to work in such a way that it hands off to each and every other department. So if I'm a salesperson, I need to be making sure I'm setting my technical delivery team up for delivering a project or a service aligned to how I've sold it, and the same is true from a billing perspective and the production management accounts. So that discipline is a key phrase. We often start around purchase orders and having some governance around how perhaps not the recurring items necessarily, but certainly one-time products really cause confusion and unnecessary tension around the accounts production side, ordering goods in March and billing them in April and not having any clue as to what bill relates to what invoice. So have you come across that? Did you have a similar issue there?
With people not
I ran
using
across that.
purchase orders, maybe.
Yeah, I run across it all the time too.
Yes.
All the time. Different months, getting in invoices, paying the bills, definitely. So we like to use inventory a lot on ours, the inventory module inside of QuickBooks, to help auto align that, so we're not looking at every single bill to see when we invoiced for it, to try to align them.
Yes, that is very helpful to be able to align that revenue and cost side of things. But I guess the use of purchase orders is really an extension after the salesperson has correctly put the product on the quote that's been signed off. Then your purchase order can aid with, again, how that's going to be ordered and received, and everybody knows what's going on. There's a systemized approach to that in the business. So yeah, purchase orders are good. Yeah, it's all very, I think oftentimes with finance things, it's the simple, in a way, sometimes obvious things that make a big difference. And it's just making sure that you're utilizing those tools that exist and not trying to bypass them.
Yes. So again, looking at well-disciplined leaders in the business to set the right example and support all of the functions of the business operating together. Does that mean we've actually managed to get 3 tips already? Chart of accounts, labour allocation for gross margin, and discipline in engaging with all areas of the business and in particular finance?
I get that. Yes. I think so.
Amazing. So there we have it. 3 top tips from 3 corners of the world. And we can, I'm sure, build upon that with further recommendations and guidance. I guess we've picked 3 that are sort of top of mind for us, but I'm sure there's lots of subtlety around each one of those points, and the devil is always in the detail in terms of having a great idea and implementing a great idea of obviously two very different elements. So maybe we could finish off with just exploring how an MSP can help prepare for gaining control of their numbers. What sort of processes could or should they be implementing internally before they engage with someone, with a finance person, whether it's internal or external, and indeed maybe some experiences of our own that we've uncovered during onboarding. Angie, you want to go first with that one?
I would say release all information to your accountant. I find that there's some sort of mystery that I learn about something several months down the line, sometimes a year. I'm like, I didn't know you did that. Or I didn't know you had this extra account.
I have to be honest, that was top of mind for me as well, Angie. Like, we're not mind readers in finance, and all you're having everybody in the process, anybody that has the ability to spend money in their business, understanding that they need to provide that information to their finance person so that they can allocate it in the correct way so that management can make the right decisions. So the salesperson that's off with their credit card, that is important for them to provide that information back to the finance team. And there's many tools now in which that's very easy for people to be able to capture that data when they're out and about, different receipt handling things that, again, it's all very small bits, but I like to view the finance department. It's all little bricks at the bottom, but you can't have an amazing house if all the little bricks aren't there. So that's what those little pieces of data are. That's what it enables you to build a very strong structure. That's sort of how I try to explain it to people in why do I need this receipt? Well, that's what we're trying to build for you.
Get the cost in the right place, and of course the other key aspect of receipts is sales tax and the reclaiming of sales tax.
Well, yes, that is important. So we are sometimes fighting with the idea of some of what we do is around compliance and making sure that you are actually compliant with your local laws around that. But the benefits of that is we also have this information so that you can run your management accounts. So it sort of solves multiple problems, but it can be utilised in multiple areas.
And of course, the majority of MSP owners are from a technical origination. I was slightly unusual insofar as I was a salesperson by trade before becoming a business owner, but equally not well equipped as an engineer to know what was required from a good financial management perspective, and lessons that I learned the hard and long way during my experience. So maybe we could finish off with our suggestions for how MSP owners can start to really master this whole topic and perhaps take some of the tension, some of the conflict out of themselves and the rest of their business to make finance a much more smoother and natural part to their business rather than fighting against it. Any suggestions there, Lauren?
I think depending, and as you mentioned, some people and a lot of the MSP owners have come from a technical space, is to find a finance person you can work with that you're not afraid to ask questions and to note what you don't understand. Often with the balance sheet in particular, that might be something you've not looked at before, and just understanding how that fits into your business and learning as you go and not being concerned if you don't know the answers to those finance things. It can be a bit, I guess, potentially intimidating if you feel like you don't know these things. If you're a technical person, you should know everything. Maybe it feels like you've got your superhero cape on and you can solve everything. But exploring that and really understanding it and setting yourself a goal of understanding your finance reports, I think then you have that confidence to instruct the sales team that they have to do this, the technical staff have to do this. You can see yourself those benefits.
Really good solid advice. So full disclosure from Angie and being vulnerable from Lauren as the key essential elements for an MSP owner to engage with a finance partner, internal or external. There's lots of really interesting points there, I think. We are pretty close to time though. Adam, any final thoughts from you?
Well, gosh, I think it's just great that we're doing it. First of all, we've got, as you say, the three corners of the globe in the room today, sharing the same market, talking to each other, forming relationships, sharing issues, sharing trends, talking about what's happening right now, what's happening in the future. You know, we're doing this, aren't we, because we've been aware of peer groups or been involved in peer groups in the past, and we've seen the benefit there, and we're starting our own little peer group, right? This is kind of what this is. So I just think it's great. And, you know, we talk about this co-opetition idea. There's so much business out there, ultimately, you know, that there's room to cooperate, I think, you know. So I think for me, this is great. And certainly we hope to help those owners out there who are looking to, you know, for a geographical footprint across the world, perhaps. Certainly we'll be ready for those guys. but learning from each other, and supporting each other is a key thing. And going back to Lauren's point earlier around what should owners be doing, I think just get started. I think, if you're going to engage with us, Angie or Lauren, you've got professionals on board, work alongside them, learn from them, understand what's going on. Work with them to get the right numbers, start to understand what those numbers mean. Don't be afraid to ask, right? That's what we're here for, isn't it? And I think there's a tendency in owner land to focus on your operations first, then focus on sales and marketing second. And you know what? Do I really have to do finance? It seems to be like the last thing that's kind of looked at, but it's got equal importance. And if you run out of cash, you've got massive problems. It can take your business down. So it needs to be right up there and a priority for everybody.
Wise words. Angie, Lauren, any final thoughts?
I kind of feel the same way. It's any time to get started on making it better is a good time to start.
Very good.
I guess I echo those comments. Just make a start. And I would say be honest with your finance person. They're in your corner. They see the good and the bad. They know when things are going well. They know when things aren't going well. And they're on your side. So let them know what's happening is what I would say. It does need to be that trusted position. Like at any IT business, you're a trusted resource for that company, your end client. They trust you with everything, their data, their business. Your finance person should be that. So make sure you're with somebody that you can trust and have those, can be very difficult conversations sometimes if you're running out of cash. They can help.
Or indeed, you've got seemingly enough cash, but you don't actually know if you've got enough money because you don't have your management accounts up to date. So you may be just about to run out of cash. Yeah.
Yep.
Brilliant. Lauren, Angie, Adam, it's been the first of this type of podcast episode that we produced. I'm sure we'll get lots of experience over the coming months and years to continue to do this and work together. And been a real pleasure talking to you all this evening. Or this morning, or this afternoon, get to where you are in the world.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.